Alright, so welcome to our course on creating a column grid in AutoCAD. So what we have here on our screen is the basic shell of a building. It's basic floor plan here. There's no interior walls or anything, but we're more concerned with getting our column grid in place because we need to get the structure laid out here. Now the good thing about this plan that we have here is we've got the foundation in place, so we know where the footings are around the perimeter, but we also know where these isolated footings are as well. So this is going to let us know where we need to place our columns. So this is really going to help us out quite a bit. So the first thing we need to do is get our layers set, and we need to make sure we name them properly and also assign colors. And when it comes to the layer for our grid line, we're going to assign a special line type. It's going to help make this a lot easier to read. We've got plenty of continuous line work and some hatching here, so adding another type of line work for the grid line that'll be distinctive will definitely make it a lot easier. So let's go ahead and get our layers taken care of. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to my home here, and I'm going to go to my layer properties, and we're going to start adding some layers. So there's 4 layers I want to add in addition to the ones that we have here. I need to add a layer for columns, for my dimensions, for my grid bubbles, and my grid lines. So let's go ahead and get those placed here. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of those. So we'll add this first one here. This is going to be our columns layer, and I want to assign a name as well as a color to that. And I want to adjust this line type. I don't want to go with the default. I want to make sure it's set to 0. I want this to be really thin line work, and I don't want any thick bleeding lines in my drawing. So let's add another one here. The next one we're going to add is for our dimensions. I'm just going to put in dims for short. We're going to assign a color to this one, and we're going to go with color number 163. And then I want to make sure this is also set to 0 for my line weight. Now we got a couple more to add. Let's do the same thing for our grid bubbles and grid lines. So we'll go add, we'll go grid bubbles. And I want that color to be color 40. And I'll say OK here. And again, I'm going to make sure that's set to 0. And the last layer we're going to add here is going to be our grid line layers. So we'll go grid line. We'll select a color for that one, and I want that to be color number 73. And I want that to be set to 0 as well. And none of my lines are frozen or anything. So now what we could do is we could go straight to our grid lines layer. I'm going to switch that from a continuous line to something that's a little bit different. We've got plenty of continuous lines within our drawing, and we definitely don't want our grid lines to be a little or too overbearing in our drawing, but we definitely want them to be visible. So I'm going to go ahead and go to load here, and we're going to load maybe a dash and a dot line. So maybe something that alternates between a dash and a dot. I mean, you see here we have plenty of options to choose from here. So I'm going to try this one here. Just dash dot tx2. So we'll go OK. I'm going to go back down here and select it in my window, and I'm going to say OK. And you can see that line type is now selected. So I'm going to make that my current layer by hitting that green check mark. So we've got the stage set to go ahead and start working and drawing. So now that we have our layers managed, everything's looking good so far. In the next lesson, we'll go ahead and start drawing out those grid lines, and then we'll start laying out some columns as well. So I'll see you in the next lesson.